Right, listen, you're lost. You're lost. You're telling me wrong, Mark. Phil, first my wife. You're my daughter. Now my sister.
What are you doing? There's nowhere to go. Janine!
EastEnders once again finds itself in second place in my soap opera rankings for the second month in a row, this time for December 2022. After it had some time at number 1 in my rankings, but I think what happened with EastEnders is that the Panacea drama was just so good for so many months until it kind of tripped at the finish line. Unfortunately, that story did, and there's still some story to be had with those characters, but the other storylines the last 2 months in comparison just aren't quite as good as that drama was. You can watch all my videos in the fall talking about EastEnders' resurgence thanks to the Panaceas, but now we got to talk about mostly, I think, the Janine, Mick, Linda story. That is a story that kind of climaxed at Christmas. That was the big Christmas story for EastEnders, and it wasn't the worst thing. But the problem was the Janine and Mick story was just never that good in the first place. This was still one of John Sen's stories that he started, and it was weak from the get-go. The whole Janine and Mick relationship was never making a whole lot of sense in the first place, and I think Janine came out of this story looking the worst she ever has. Not that she's ever looked good for a long time now, but this was really a hollow return for her, where she kind of just became nothing more than a sociopath, which she's always had some tendencies to be that way, because clearly she only cares about herself, and that's fine. But even the way she treated Scarlett in the end was just a lot. It was a lot from Janine, and I don't know if she needs to be redeemed at this point in the first place, but if they are going to go that way, got to start with her mental health. But that story is what really led to Mick's death as well, because it finally came out what Janine did. Shirley had been trying to get to the truth with Scarlett and never really getting there. But at Christmas dinner, it all came out. Janine even admitted it. But then Janine was going to try and leave town and even leave Scarlett behind. Mick chased her down in a car with Linda also in the car with him. And the cars go into the water. Then there came a point where Linda, they had stopped Janine, and then Linda got in the car with Janine, which was kind of contrived, honestly. The car goes into the water. Because Janine's pregnant, Linda even wants Mick to save Janine first, and he does. But then Mick dives in for Linda, not knowing Linda got out herself, and then is presumed dead and drowned. It is what it is. I mean, the Mick character has honestly ran its course, in my opinion. I don't know if the Mick character ever got to the heights as some might think it did, but it still was a good climax on Christmas for me. Good enough. Not as great as the Panacea drama, but good enough. I honestly do think out of all the soaps in December that EastEnders had some of the better Christmas episodes. At least they had something going on, and it wasn't just boring nothingness, which I like family moments on soaps. Days of Our Lives had a decent family-oriented Christmas episode, but EastEnders probably had the better Christmas Eve and Christmas episodes this past year. But I still don't think the Janine and Mick storyline was strong enough for me to give EastEnders second place. Despite Home and Away not being here this month, it was Home and Away that beat EastEnders in November in my rankings. This month it was Shortland Street, which just had a really good climax to their Christmas break in December. One of the other big things, though, we had more exits. I talked about this last month. EastEnders is having a lot of exits, maybe one too many. But Dot's funeral took place. But Dottie also left town. She thought she was going to get Dot's house in the will, but Sonia got it, so Dot went off the deep end being all pissed at Sonia and left town being miserable. But she also kind of got away with swindling all of Harvey's money, so it was kind of an odd exit that she basically got away with that from what we've seen. And Harvey, of course, feels pretty stupid for being catfished in the first place, but then Dottie just gets away with it, even though that should have been against the law too. At least towards the end of December, though, they are kind of going back with the whole Jean and Harvey connection. That's because Shirley lost Mick, lost both her children, actually, and now was going to leave. It seems temporary, but Shirley is going to leave. Shirley's been really entertaining in December. I think Shirley is definitely a good character that I think needs to come back for sure. And I do like that they kept the Shirley and Jean friendship around here, with them needing each other over these past several months. Now Shirley needed to lean on Jean, but Shirley told Jean to hang on to Harvey, and she seems like she's going to try and do that. Maybe Harvey and Jean will have a real go at their relationship. At the beginning of December, Dot's funeral was good. I think the show did the best they could with Dot's funeral. The best part for me, of course, was that Ian made a surprise appearance. The show also brought back some really old characters from the 80s that I've seen a little bit of. Definitely seen a little bit of their stories, not a lot. But I think Ian coming back at the funeral, even though nobody saw him, he was just watching from afar, and the show did a really good job of keeping that a secret. I love when a show can keep spoilers under wraps. I wish soap operas could do that more often these days. There was also even a letter from Fat Boy, so Fat Boy seemed to be alive. So I like those little like Easter eggs within the story for Dot's funeral, and the fact that just Ian made an appearance in the first place. It would be nice if we do see Ian return more full-time. Maybe give us an update on all that. We'll go over some other stories quickly. Amy missed her therapy appointment and ended up cutting herself again, but she cut herself wrong and too much and ended up in the hospital. And then Jack and Denise, Kim, Howie, Denzel, Amy all try and have this family dinner after that. But a comment from Kim upset Amy. The Amy story's been okay, I think, for the most part. Some of it seemed rushed at times, and others... The whole Jack part of the story has just been annoying. I said that last week, and I haven't really changed my mind on it. But I do like that they had, like, Denzel give Amy a mixtape. They seem to maybe still be going towards that direction with Denzel and Amy, which I'm here for. Phil returned, but the other surprise return that the show kept under wraps was Keanu. So that was another non-spoiled return that was great to see. And they had Keanu and Phil actually working together. That was a big twist in the story. Keanu trying to help Phil get away from the Detective Keeble, who's been trying to take Phil and his family down. And Keanu's doing this to try and get Phil off of his back. But towards the end of December, it seemed like Phil was going to double-cross Keanu. It's where that Phil told Keanu that he was going to double-cross him. I haven't watched any January yet, so I don't know what has come from that, but that story's just been okay. I mean, it's better. It's better than most stories on these other soap operas. That's why EastEnders is still number 2. Like I'm saying, some of these stories are just okay, but honestly, just okay is way better than most of the stories on these other soap operas right now. So EastEnders might just be just okay with some of their stories, but I'll take it because it's good enough for me. The weak point is still Alfie, I think, in that story. Alfie kind of winning back Kat before Phil returned. I could leave it, honestly. I can leave that off of what I need to see. They also, of course, continued Lola still dying of cancer, and Jay proposing on Christmas, but Lola runs off because she's not going to be here for much longer, at least that's what it's looking like. So that story is still just sad. But I still think overall, EastEnders definitely one of the top soap operas over the last several months. It still is in December. It's missing as it's missing the dynamics that the Panacea drama had for those few months where the show was just firing on all cylinders, and that's what's kind of keeping it under the shows that I'm seeing have real climaxes to their stories. That's why Shortland Street was in first place this past month in December, because it had the best climax of any story in December. It kind of helps, I guess, that Home and Away and Shortland Street both have Christmas breaks, so they can have like season finales and really try and climax their stories. EastEnders still had climax though, but the Mick and Janine story was never that strong in the first place, because that was still a John Sten story.